Have you ever made a money decision, and then later you look back and think well, that wasn't very rational, was it?
Oh, definitely. Like maybe buying something on impulse you didn't really need, or, holding on to an investment way too long.
Exactly. It happens to all of us. We think finance is all charts and logic.
But it's so much more about behavior, isn't it? Emotions, psychology, all that messy human stuff.
Totally. And that's precisely what we're getting into today. We're kind of pushing the complex math aside for a bit.
Yeah, we're exploring the psychological side of money, which
Mhm.
is honestly often simpler, but way more powerful.
Our main source for this deep dive is this really excellent summary of Morgan Housel's book, The Psychology of Money. It comes from Compounding Quality.
And looking at the source, compounding quality, they seem really, well, passionate about this, not just investing, but actually helping people.
Yeah, it says they left Wall Street, moved away from that short-term thinking.
To do the right thing, as they put it. They see their readers as partners, which I think is a great approach.
It really is.
Yeah.
And, the source lists some pretty notable readers of their stuff. It's quite a mix.
Oh, yeah. Like who?
Well, there's Jeff Bezos, Michael Mauboussin, Jason Zweig, also Guy Spire, John Cena, Bill Ackman, LeBron James.
Wow, okay. That's quite the range. From tech founders to wrestling stars to legendary investors.
Yeah.
Tells you something, right?
Definitely grabs your attention. So, okay, our mission here is to really unpack the key ideas from this summary for you.
We want to pull out the most important bits, the practical wisdom.
Exactly. To help you understand how psychology is, affecting your financial world right now.
And hopefully help you make, maybe not perfectly rational, but more informed decisions going forward.
Right. So let's dive in.
Okay, first big idea. Understanding why we do the things we do with money. It's kind of the starting point for everything.
Yeah, Housel kicks off with this chapter titled basically No One's Crazy. And the core idea is, well, simple but profound.
Which,
That even financial behavior that looks completely nuts from the outside, it actually makes sense if you see it through that person's eyes, through their own experiences.
right. It's subjective. Your choices about money aren't just calculations. They're, like, baked in from your life story.
Totally. The economy when you grew up, how your parents handled money, specific wins or losses you've had.
All of that shapes what feels logical to you. So what's crazy behavior to me might be a perfectly reasonable way for you to act based on your past.
It really makes you think differently, doesn't it? It means your money story, the one inside your head, is unique.
And knowing that helps you understand yourself better, maybe figure out your own biases, but it also fosters empathy for why others act the way they do.
Like, why do you panic sell when the market drops? Or why do you always avoid a certain type of investment? Your history probably has clues.
So linked to that idea of individual behavior, the source talks about this thing called the man in the car paradox.
Ah, yes. I think I know this one. You buy the fancy car.
Right, the luxury car, like the source mentions, you buy it thinking, wow, people are going to be so impressed with me. You want to project success.
But the paradox is, they're usually not thinking about you at all.
Exactly. They see the nice car and mostly think, wow, I wish I had that car. Their admiration, if any, is directed at the object, not the owner. They're imagining themselves in it.
So you're spending all this money, maybe even going into debt, to create an impression that doesn't really land the way you think it will.
And that just creates financial strain, which actually makes you less secure. It undermines the very thing you might be trying to signal.
Which ties straight into the next point. Wealth is what you don't see.
This is crucial. True wealth isn't the fancy car or the big house. Those are things money was spent on. That money is gone.
Real wealth is the money not spent. It's the savings, the investments, the assets quietly growing. It's invisible.
You see someone driving that expensive car, they might look wealthy, but they could be drowning in debt to keep up appearances.
Whereas the person driving an older car might have a huge investment portfolio you'd never guess.
Right, so building actual wealth, the source suggests, requires discipline. Living below your means, focusing on that long-term hidden accumulation.
Not just chasing the short-term buzz from visible luxuries. For you, the takeaway is that chasing external validation rarely works and is expensive. Focus on building that unseen security and freedom. That's the real prize.
And if we're talking about building blocks, the most fundamental one, according to the source, is just saving money.
It sounds so basic, almost boring, right? Save money. Duh.
But it's foundational. A source really hammers this home. Saving gives you flexibility, it gives you options, it gives you resilience when things go wrong or when opportunities pop up.
It's your buffer. That emergency fund, that safety net, it's absolutely critical.
But it's not just about hitting a specific savings goal, like for a down payment, it's about the habit.
Yeah, the consistency. It's often more about your saving rate, the percentage of your income you put away, than how much you actually earn. Someone earning less but saving consistently can build more security than someone earning a lot but spending it all.
And the psychological upside is huge too, isn't it? Knowing you have that cushion reduces stress, gives you peace of mind, control.
Absolutely. So for you, the message is make saving a regular, non-negotiable part of your life. It's not just about the future, it's about feeling more secure right now.
And that habit, that consistent saving, is what powers the next big idea, the silent powerhouse of compounding.
Ah, compounding. Einstein supposedly called it the eighth wonder of the world.
Whether he did or not, it is incredibly powerful. It's where small, consistent efforts over a really long time lead to, well, frankly, unbelievable results.
It's not about finding the next Amazon stock overnight. It's about time in the market, not timing the market, right?
Exactly. Patience and consistency. The source uses the classic Warren Buffett example,
Right. His immense wealth isn't just because he's a genius investor.
although that helps. But a huge chunk of it is simply because he started super early and just kept at it for decade after decade after decade. He let compounding do the heavy lifting over an incredibly long time horizon.
It really highlights why starting early matters so much, even if it's just small amounts. Those first few dollars have the longest time to grow.
So true. And it argues against chasing those quick, risky gains. Consistent, reasonable returns over the long haul are far more powerful. It's the tortoise beating the hare, basically.
So for you listening, prioritize starting, prioritize consistency, and just give your investments the time they need, ideally, decades.
Now, here's an interesting distinction this source makes. Getting wealthy versus staying wealthy, apparently they require different skills.
Yeah, that makes sense. Getting rich often involves taking calculated risks, maybe being aggressive, spotting opportunities.
Yeah, maybe a bit of optimism, even boldness.
Yeah.
But staying wealthy, that's a different game. It requires humility, frugality even.
And a big focus on managing fear and uncertainty, right? Because the goal shifts from accumulation to preservation.
Precisely. The source notes that many people are good at the first part, getting wealth, but fail spectacularly at the second. They keep taking the same risks that got them there.
And eventually those risks catch up and they lose it.
So risk management becomes absolutely key for staying wealthy. You need that margin of safety. You need to avoid catastrophic losses.
So as your situation evolves, maybe as you build some wealth, your mindset needs to shift too, from purely growth-focused to thinking about protection and preservation.
Which leads us nicely into the whole unpredictable side of finance. The source really digs into luck and risk and this idea of tails, you win.
Yeah, we often like to think success is all skill, all merit, but luck, it plays a massive, often uncomfortable role.
The source points this out clearly. Many successful people had fortunate breaks, things outside their control that helped them enormously.
Like the Bill Gates example from the source getting incredibly early access to a school computer back when almost no one else did. That wasn't just skill, it was a huge slice of luck.
Absolutely. And the flip side is risk. It's always there. Bad things can happen even if you do everything right.
The source mentions Kent Evans, Gates's brilliant friend who died young. A stark reminder that risk can just derail everything, no matter the potential.
It really calls for humility, doesn't it? You can't control everything, which ties into the tails you win idea.
Explain that one. Tails.
It means that in many areas, especially investing, a huge portion of the overall outcome comes from a very small number of extreme events, the tails of the probability distribution.
So like most of your investments might do okay, or even poorly.
Right. Many things you try won't work out. You'll have small losses, things that go sideways. But then one or two investments might become massive winners, the tail events. And those few big wins can dwarf all the small losses and drive almost all your return.
Okay, so you need patience because most things won't be home runs.
Patience and perseverance, exactly. And it's a strong case for diversification.
Because you don't know which investment will be the tail winner, so you spread your bets.
Precisely. You increase your odds of capturing one of those rare big winners. It means accepting that failure, or at least mediocrity, is common. Tail events are part of the game.
So for you, the listener, don't get bummed out by every little setback or every investment that doesn't soar. Stick to your strategy, stay diversified, and you increase your chances of catching those crucial big wins.
And part of sticking to that strategy, especially when things get weird, is having that Room for error?
Yes, the margin of safety. This seems like a recurring theme.
It is. Because uncertainty is guaranteed. A margin of safety isn't about being scared, it's about being smart. It's a buffer.
A cushion that protects you when things don't go as planned, when your forecasts are wrong.
Or just when life throws you a curveball. It gives you flexibility, options. Conservative planning isn't about expecting the worst necessarily, but planning for the possibility that things won't go perfectly.
Which, let's be honest, they often don't.
Exactly. So planning for less than ideal scenarios reduces your overall risk and dramatically increases your chances of sticking around long enough for compounding and those tail events to work for you.
Plus, the psychological benefit again. Knowing you have that buffer.
Huge peace of mind. Reduces stress immensely. So for you, building in that room for error, maybe through extra savings, lower debt, conservative assumptions, it's fundamental. It's about long-term stability, both financially and emotionally.
Okay, so we've talked about strategy, risk, compounding. But the source also stresses something really human, being reasonable rather than purely rational.
Yes, this is such an important point. Finance often pushes for pure rationality, optimize everything, maximize returns.
But we're not robots, are we? We have feelings, biases, fears, preferences.
Totally. And a strategy that looks perfect on paper, perfectly rational, might be completely unsustainable for a real human being. Maybe it involves too much volatility for your stomach, or it requires constant monitoring you just don't have time for.
So if you can't stick with the perfect rational plan when things get tough,
Yeah.
it's useless.
Exactly. A reasonable decision, the source argues, is one that blends that logic and data with your own temperament, your own goals, your own life situation. It has to fit you.
What's reasonable for me might be unreasonable for you, depending on our risk tolerance or time horizon.
Right. And it means embracing imperfection. You will make mistakes. The key is having a strategy you can stick with long enough to let it work, even if it's not mathematically optimal.
So for you, tailor your plan to your unique reality. Make it something you can realistically maintain through thick and thin. Sustainability beats theoretical perfection.
And part of being reasonable is also accepting that, well, nothing's free.
Meaning everything has a cost, even if it's not obvious.
Precisely. It's not just the sticker price or the management fee. There are hidden costs everywhere in finance.
Right.
Trade-offs, sacrifices.
Like the opportunity cost,
Well-
choosing investment A means not choosing investment B.
Or the emotional cost of dealing with market volatility. That stress, that uncertainty, that's part of the price you pay for potential long-term returns. It's not free.
Okay. And having flexibility, that margin of safety we keep mentioning, helps you navigate these hidden costs.
It does. It gives you more room to handle the trade-offs and absorb the inevitable bumps in the road without being forced into bad decisions.
So for you, it's a reminder. Whenever you make a financial choice, ask yourself not just what am I getting, but also what am I giving up? What's the unseen price tag?
Which really brings us back full circle to the core idea. Finance is deeply personal. The source emphasizes this with the chapter, You and Me.
Meaning, what works for you won't necessarily work for me.
Exactly that. Your background, your values, your goals, your personality, they're all different from mine. They shape how you see money, how you behave with it.
So just copying someone else's strategy, even if they're super successful, is probably a bad idea.
Often, yes. Because their circumstances, their risk tolerance, their reason for investing might be totally different from yours. Your plan needs to be tailored to you.
Aligned with your values, your life.
And it also means we should respect that others are on different paths. Avoid judgment. Understand their financial reality might be completely different.
So the big message for you is, stop the comparison game. It's usually pointless and often makes you feel bad. Focus on your own journey, your own goals, based on your own unique situation.
Okay, shifting gears slightly to mindset. The source talks about the seduction of pessimism. Why does bad news often seem smarter?
It's weird, isn't it? Pessimism often sounds more intelligent, more insightful. Doom and gloom gets more attention than slow, steady progress.
Yeah, someone predicting a crash sounds serious, while someone saying things will probably be okay in the long run sounds naive.
But that constant focus on the negative can be really harmful to your long-term plans. It can paralyze you with fear.
Right. The source isn't saying ignore risks. You absolutely have to acknowledge them. But you need balance. You need a degree of long-term optimism about progress, about opportunities.
Otherwise, you might just sit on the sidelines, too scared to participate, and miss out on growth.
Exactly. So for you, be aware of this bias. Financial news often leans negative because it grabs eyeballs. Don't let that dominate your thinking. Maintain a balanced perspective, acknowledge risks, but have confidence in the long haul.
And related to that is the need to, well, question everything.
Yeah.
Because, wow, people can believe some crazy things when money's involved.
Oh, absolutely. Gullibility seems rampant in finance sometimes. Why is that?
The source suggests a few reasons. Maybe it's a charismatic salesperson spinning a great story. Maybe it's our own confirmation bias. We want to believe something is true, so we latch on to narratives that fit.
Greed and fear play a huge role too, obviously.
Definitely. Which is why skepticism is so vital. Not cynicism necessarily, but healthy skepticism.
Yeah.
Question assumptions. Ask for evidence. Don't just take claims at face value.
Especially if it sounds too good to be true, right?
Almost certainly is. And try hard to avoid making big decisions based purely on emotion, that spike of fear during a crash or that burst of excitement during a bubble.
Step back, think critically, apply that reasonable filter we talked about.
It's a skill you have to develop. So for you, practice it. Critically evaluate advice, news, even your own gut feelings. Be aware of the emotional pulls and biases that might make you want to believe something, and then look for the facts.
So, okay, let's try and bring this all together now as the source titles one chapter. What's the big picture?
I think the main point is that financial success, or even just financial sanity, isn't about mastering one thing. It's not just spreadsheets. It's not just psychology.
It's the interplay, right? It's this complex mix of the psychological, the emotional, and the practical all interacting.
Yeah, you need a holistic approach. You have to integrate all these dimensions. Understanding your own behavioral quirks is just as vital as understanding, say, asset allocation.
And it's not static. It's a process of continuous learning. The markets change. The world changes.
And maybe most importantly, you change. Your goals, your values, your life circumstances, they evolve over time.
So your financial plan needs to evolve too. Aligning your money stuff with your personal growth, with who you're becoming. That seems key to finding real fulfillment, not just accumulating dollars.
It's about understanding yourself and how you relate to money in this bigger context. Keep learning, keep adapting your approach as you grow.
And fittingly, the source wraps up with the author, Morgan Housel, offering some personal confessions.
Which I think is great. It adds real humility.
Definitely. He shares his own journey, mistakes he's made, lessons learned the hard way. It reminds you that nobody has all the answers, not even the experts.
And it emphasizes that learning from those mistakes is crucial. Not burying them, but actually facing them and using them to get better. That honesty is vital.
Absolutely. It really underscores the need for humility in finance. Recognizing you don't know everything, being open to new information, accepting uncertainty that's essential for making better choices over time.
Financial well-being isn't some finish line you cross. It's an ongoing journey, right? Requires constant effort, adaptation, self-reflection.
Yeah. So for you, the takeaway is be kind to yourself. Even the pros mess up. Embrace the learning process, stay humble, and just keep working at it, navigating the inevitable bumps along the way.
So wrapping this up, this deep dive into the psychology of money, drawing from that compounding quality summary, really drives home a powerful point.
Which is?
That getting good with money often has less to do with complex formulas and more to do with understanding yourself, your behavior, your biases, your history, and the sort of universal human ways we all relate to wealth.
We really hope that unpacking these ideas has given you some useful things to think about, maybe a few aha moments for your own financial life.
Yeah, some valuable perspectives to consider.
And maybe leave you with this final thought to chew on, something that ties a lot of this together.
Go for it.
What if the most valuable thing money can actually buy isn't the fancy stuff, the luxuries, but the freedom? The freedom it gives you to control your own time, which is arguably your most precious asset.
The freedom to design a life that truly aligns with what you value most.
Exactly. Maybe that's the ultimate return on investment, something for you to think about.